Welcome to ACM's Vault of Cult. My name's Andy. In this episode we mainly focus on the 1986 sci-fi would-be classic Solarbabies, or Solarwarriors as it was called in the UK. Quite a bizarre film. If you don't know it, there will be spoilers. I suggest you watch it, but give a listen anyway. If you enjoy these podcasts, I'm sure some people don't watch them before, and we'll be chatting about that very soon. But just to set the scene, this is the intro from the beginning of that movie.
In the new time, the year is 41, and the Protectorate controls all the water on Earth, and therefore all life. I am the warden of Orphanage 43, one of the many orphanages that border the wasteland. Children are brought here at an early age to be indoctrinated, to serve the system. It hurts me to do what I do. I, too, must serve the system. Sometimes in my dreams, I see the Earth as it was before, green with flowing rivers and mighty oceans. Can it ever be like that again? There is a legend, a tale told by the Jacatis, that speaks of a visitor that came from the heavens. People called it Bodai. The legend says that it has come to Earth to free the waters once again. Is this legend true? Who knows?
That is how the movie opens and sets the scene. I'll play the trailer before we get onto the bulk of the podcast too. Like with all the films featured in this series, I grew up loving it, and I'm going to play it to, I did play it to someone who hasn't seen it before, about the same age as me, another film fan. This week again, James from King Street Cinema joins me. He jumped at the chance to watch this, and I don't think he enjoyed it quite as much as I did, but I'm going to chat with him in a bit about it and see whether it is actually a good film or it's just the nostalgia and my eyes watching it as a youngster. It imprinted greatness on me, and it actually isn't great. All you need to do is look at reviews to see whether many people think it's great. I might be in the minority as usual, but see what James has to say, and always a fun conversation. Afterwards, I'm going to be talking about, a bit strange, we talk about retro films here, obviously, just a time in history where more adult films, action films, 18 certificates, 15 certificates, and in America R-rated certificates, were giving kids cartoon shows. We'll be talking about that after. And as normal, recommending an asylum film, a modern B-movie, and I'm actually going to talk about a big release new film that I think will go on to become a cult classic. But first, I chat with James about Solarbabies, or Solarwarriors.
It's not alive.
Do you breathe?
Where do you come from?
Earth, 1,000 years in the future. Out of the heavens comes a mystical and powerful force. It is called Bodai.
We're gonna get Bodai.
Yes, we are. Unanimous. Go.
The law requires that I take them to my headquarters.
Only a lonely one.
Are you sure about that? Take a better look.
Armed with the power of the magical being Bodai, a young band of rebels is our only hope to conquer the forces of evil that would destroy the planet Earth. The magic, the mystery, the adventure. Solarbabies.
Hello, James. You all right?
Hello, Andy. Nice to see you again.
Again, yeah. Thanks for joining us again. You've been a big part of this second season.
I think so. Yeah.
And this is kind of a pulled together quickly episode because I'm going to do the comic book movie season, 80s and 90s comic book films that didn't do so well,
right.
and I'm having a bit of trouble. People have watched the films, but getting them together to do the podcast. Yeah, you've seen them all, I believe, apart from one, which I might call you in on, Return of Swamp Thing.
That's right. Yeah, I have not seen that. I've seen Swamp Thing, but not the return of. So,
People are in line to do that, but I'm having trouble getting.
I know.
We'll see.
It's been a while now.
Yeah, it has, and that has a connection with this film with one of the actresses. Do you know who?
No, I'm clue blank on that one.
Sarah Douglas is in both.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's in that and this.
Okay.
But we are,
Brilliant.
of course,
Brilliant.
talking about Solarwarriors or Solarbabies. I don't really know. We'll just refer to it as both throughout the podcast.
Oh, fine. I mean, I know it as Solarbabies because Solarbabies. Because that's just the title.
That was the original release in America. I think it was called Solarwarriors over here all the time.
Right.
It's the name of the team.
Yeah,
they're a sports team.
Sort of a roller skate team, kind of like rollerball.
Well, it's called. They refer to it as skate racket at one point.
Yeah.
And then there's a poster in the background where they live. What says skateball?
Skateball, yeah.
So
it's rollerball.
Yeah. Kind of. It's a bit. It's a very strange movie. It's set in the year 47, but 1,000 years in the future. Something's happened. It doesn't really say what.
Yeah, if I remember, it was 41, I think.
Oh, okay.
Well, at least the version I saw, that was the narration said 41. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah. No, because the intro will have played before this bit.
Yeah.
So one of us is wrong. Probably me. And or I wrote down a 7 that looks like a 1.
That happens.
Or vice, yeah,
exactly. That's probably what you did.
There's I've got a lot of notes on this. I don't know how much we'll touch on. But there's been some sort of eco wars, and it's after that post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
And set around an orphanage.
Yeah.
And there's groups of kids who it's suggested have actually been stolen from their.
Oh, completely. No, it's said they take them when they're a few months old from their families and put them in an orphanage. I'm guessing to train them up to be a part of whatever the e-police, or whatever it is that they're
who are pretty much Nazis.
Yeah, it's dictatorship type thing, dystopian future.
Yeah, and there's groups of kids. Yeah. And some of them seem to adore these Nazi types.
Yeah.
And most of them are in a team of, we'll call it skateball team, called the Scorpions.
The Scorpions, yeah.
And they're a very evil sounding name. And they have all the best training, all the best equipment.
They do.
But the better team are the Solarbabies, who don't have the best equipment, seem to train themselves.
That's right.
But the only enjoyment they seem to get is this game, which they even play. Just the opening scenes, they're playing it in their own time.
Yeah.
And it's sort of interrupted, and they're told to play properly.
There's like rules or something. There's areas where they're supposed to be because everything's contained, so they're not supposed to be in pretty much anywhere that's outside the orphanage and surrounding the orphanage.
Yeah.
And they were outside of that area, playing in a sort of forbidden place.
This is the thing. A running theme of this film is they're meant to be contained, but any time they want to escape, they do it pretty easily.
They do, indeed. Yeah.
But there's the youngest lad who's deaf. He's got. He's
deaf for 5 minutes in the film.
Yeah, it's not too clear he's even deaf. It looks like he's just got headphones on listening to music.
Yeah.
But that's his hearing device.
Yeah.
And he, through clumsiness, he discovers.
Yeah.
Is it a Bodai?
Bodai, yes.
The
sort of a sphere orb type. Perhaps it's a creature, perhaps it's not. Seems to be intelligent.
Yeah.
Alien, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
In the prologue, it does say that this will be what saves them, and because much like the film Tank Girl, also doing a podcast on soon, there is no water, no rain.
That's right.
And it's going to release that, and water's like gold, isn't it, in this film?
Yeah, it's currency pretty much.
Yeah.
Bartered with all the time, sort of thing. Yeah. And it's rationed and controlled, which is the important thing as far as the whole dictatorship, totalitarian state that they're living under.
Yeah. So when clumsy deaf lad finds God, basically, there's a scene where they first sort of meet up, and inside it's like their little clubhouse, really.
Yeah.
It starts raining.
Inside the clubhouse, yeah.
So, but instead of them sort of sabering it to drink, they start kicking it about and playing
around,
which is amazing. That's a great scene.
And the wonderful, lovely, cheesy music plays.
The music in this film is very great and very 80s. It's got that epic score to start with, which I like. You can tell we'll touch upon the making of it soon, but it's made by Brooks Films.
Yes.
The same year as Spaceballs, and the music to it, the instrumental side, is quite similar to Spaceballs.
I would say so. I'd say the Spaceballs, it fits perfectly. This film.
I think the beginning credits has got that sort of it's a sci-fi.
Yeah. Completely.
But it's very much a kids' movie.
100%.
But it's about kids, so it's another one of these which we've done. We could have probably put this in with the teen movie we've done before, but this is focusing more on the younger teens or even pre-teen.
I would say this is for at the oldest early teens.
Yeah, which when it came out in this country, it was a 15 certificate.
Yeah, amazing.
It was cut down though. I think when if it did get cinema release, when it was first released, the BBFC cut it down to a PG for obvious reasons, because that's its target audience.
Yeah.
So there'd be a few scenes they'd cut out of, which we'll touch on later. We'll say the stuff in this which shouldn't be in a kids' film. So there's a few things.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean,
nothing too
extreme. I mean, for today's market, you could see it. You go, okay, not so much. But at that time, I'm thinking, that's a PG, isn't it?
Yeah.
Surely.
I mean, I'd have seen this during the day on television.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that watched during the day when really young, and then I'd have recorded it off TV when it got a late night. What they used to do, just shove films on late night.
Yeah.
And that's how I watched it over and over again at young.
Right.
Okay. But I'd have probably seen this film. I'd have been 6 or 7, probably, not long after it on this first sort of TV run. But we'll just go over the plot a bit more. Basically, the Bodai is stolen by who I call Owlman.
Yeah.
Who
his name in it is Darstar.
Yes, and he just sort of hangs about with owls and various birds.
He's a loner. He's sort of a loner in the orphanage.
Yeah, and he escapes, and he's for what seems like no reason steals Bodai, but later on it is revealed it's because he wants the magic of it, which is the reason why the villains in the film want the Bodai as well.
Yeah, they want to destroy it so the prophecy doesn't happen, basically.
Yeah, and it's like they're trying to get power out of it at some point.
It's odd. In that part, it doesn't really make too much sense exactly what they're doing. You're right. Maybe they're trying to get power out of it. Maybe they're just trying to destroy it. Yeah. You can't really...
But they basically want it so nobody else can have it.
Use its power.
And the villains in this are pretty good. I mean, if you look at the credits, the main star is Richard Jordan from loads and loads of films. Logan's Run, he's probably most well known for, would you say? He's in June.
Yeah.
Around the same time, Hunt for the Red October.
Yeah.
Loads of stuff. And he sadly died only, I think, 6 or 7 years after this.
Yeah, he was in his 50s, I think.
Yeah, brain cancer, wasn't it?
That's what I read. Yeah.
I mostly know him, believe it or not, for a film made the next year called The Secret of My Success with Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
He's the evil businessman in that who... he's a good actor and solid for this sort of... He's one of those villains, though, with no comedy, and I think a comic villain might have helped more in this film.
Yeah, I agree. You're probably right about that. But he did lend a bit of credibility, in my opinion, to the film. And he's a good bad guy. He's good at being the bad guy. So.
Yeah, he's got the look as well. And I don't want to say it, but he kind of looks like a Nazi.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because I always sort of remember this as one of those films where the villains are very Nazi-like.
Mm-hmm. Well, the outfits.
But mainly him. When you look at the others, they don't look far off the spoof stormtroopers in Spaceballs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sort of wearing cheap helmets and that sort of thing. But I wouldn't say the film looks that cheap.
Because it's not?
Well, it was 15 million, which for the time was okay.
Yeah, and went up to 25.
Yeah. I thought it went from 5 to...
25.
Oh, it was 25, did it? Yeah. So, the original budget would have been... Somewhere I wrote down 15 million. Maybe the original budget was 15 million.
I think the original budget was 5 million, and then it went up to 25 million at the time.
Yeah. And do you know how much it made?
No, I don't.
Do you want to know?
Well, Brooks says that after all the years he broke even, but at the time it
grossed at the box office just over 1.5 million.
Oh my god! Yeah, that must have been such a heartbreak.
Yeah, and looking back, it might be like, well, it went up against Labyrinth, but that flopped as well.
Did?
Yeah. So
not a good year that year for these kind of movies.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is not one that. Obviously I like it. That's what I'm talking about. I loved it as a kid, and rewatching it last night. I bought the Blu-ray when it came out about 6-7 years ago.
Yeah,
and I sort of put it on while doing stuff and didn't pay much attention. It was more like it was almost like, 'cause it was one of my old comfort films, so I stuck it on.
Yeah.
And when I watched it again last night, after reading up some reviews of it and briefly speaking to you about it, but not in detail, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna. But unfortunately, I still loved it. It's got to be because I grew up with it. But I was watching it for the special effects. I like the music. Pop. There's a really weird, 80s pop song in it.
There is, which has lyrics. You're in the danger zone.
Yeah,
in 1986. I love it. It's brilliant.
Who was it? It was
like Kenny Loggins.
Yeah, it was Smokey Robinson.
Smokey Robinson.
The song was called "Love Will Set You Free."
That's the one.
And it's actually a religious song. It's all about Jesus and stuff. There is a music video. I think you can find it on YouTube with clips from the film.
Brilliant.
And it's on the end credits. But one of the best bits is there's one of the scenes where they escape the orphanage. It should be they're escaping, but they're all roller skating really cautiously and slowly to this song. And at some points, it's like they can't skate. And that bit I really noticed.
Yeah, I think overall, because if we just talk about the skating for a minute, because it is quite a fairly important part of the film as an aesthetic to the movie, to sell the film to a certain audience that are obviously like, I like skating, sort of thing. And I think overall, the skating in it's not so bad.
It's the main big bits are good. Yeah, but when they're sort of just going from basically the moments where they could just be walking, they don't need to be skating.
I agree. Yeah,
it looks a bit
odd. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. So.
And one of the reviews I read, I've been looking on Letterboxd. I've got a couple to note or mention later. Someone points out that it's set in the desert, but all the desert there's roads, so they can roller skate.
Yeah. It's set in. They filmed it in Spain.
Yeah.
So it is very made up, and they do have deserts in Spain.
Yeah.
And it's all very authentic looking. It doesn't look like a set. They're definitely on location, like constantly in the filming, which is nice. It looks. I think it looks nice in that respect. Like the landscape is very nice. It's very cool.
I think the look of the film looks great. And they go to, is it Tyre-Town? That looks really cool.
Tyre-Town. Well, Tyre-Town is Thunderdome.
When did that come out? A few years before.
Year before.
Okay, yeah. And that would have been shot in Australia, wouldn't it?
Would have thought so. Yeah.
But it's very, very Mad Max.
Yeah, that part especially is just we are doing Mad Max.
Yeah, and there's the guy they sort of is it Tyre-Town? No, just before that they kidnap the villains kidnap this guy who sort of met them, who's played by Terrence Mann.
Terrence Mann, the great Terrence Mann.
He's from theatre, isn't he?
Mainly theatre. He was actually in the first production of Cats.
That's it. Famous. But what do I know him most for? You'll know
Critters.
Critters. He's in at least the first three.
Yeah.
He plays Johnny Steele.
Johnny Steele. Or Ugg.
Or Ugg, yes. And another one I'm hoping to do a podcast on, and. That would be awesome, Critters.
Yeah, that's a great film.
But he's a really good actor. He's not in this much, but he's memorable.
Yeah, again, brings some legitimacy to the movie as far as there's a guy you can tell he's an actor. He's more theatre, certainly, but he's an actor.
And I think he was trying mid-80s. This was the same year, I believe, as Critters.
Yeah.
So he was obviously trying to break through.
Trying to break into the movies.
Yeah, probably two films that I love, but probably picked the wrong films to be a credible actor.
I'm guessing it's just get what.
Obviously, get what you can.
Sort of thing.
He doesn't even look too different from the character.
No.
So he's tied his hair up a bit.
Yeah.
But he's good. He's not in much of it. And not long after that, these are the scenes what weird me out. Is it Tara, the Jamie Gertz character?
Yeah.
About half an hour through the film, we discover that she's got a little tattoo symbol on her.
Yeah.
So obviously, as a baby, she was tattooed, which is a bit
Weird, yeah. I thought that too.
Yeah.
While watching the film.
And it leads her to her dad, who is this sort of hippie type.
Yeah.
It's almost got a bit of a...
They're the eco-warriors, or were the eco-warriors. They're not fighting anymore. So the backstory is that there was, you said there was a war, and they were on the side of trying to sort of make sure, the planet's not a horrible place that's controlled and all the rest of it, and it's like more of a free, like you say, hippie kind of...
And they've just give up, though.
Yeah, and they're hiding, basically. They're hiding away with their own sort of commune, pretty much, where they have water.
And ice.
And ice, they don't, where they get the water from.
Yeah, they don't even know what ice is until they see it.
That's right.
And that bit is almost slows the film down for me.
Yeah, it's more plodding exposition, which is just unnecessary, ultimately.
And
it's also thrown in really quick, like jarringly quick. It doesn't lead into it nicely.
Yeah. And also, there's sort of an action sequence. And Jamie Gertz is like, next thing you know, she's gone.
Yeah.
And then she's with them, and she appears. She almost dresses up as like a sand person from Star Wars, and then saves them and it's that little bit of the film. I don't think is really needed. No. I don't think it's one of those films that I personally don't think is boring.
Yeah.
And boring for me is a no-no in films. I'm not saying it. Watching it now, there's anything. That bit's that amazing, but nothing bores me. But that bit really slows it down, so it's close to it. And I was listening to something about the film as well, just doing a bit of research, and someone points out, and it's disagreed by the others, but I agree, that her dad looks like Norm Macdonald with a grey wig on. Search through the film, and I was like, no, it can't do it, and I'm like, it does, really does. So
okay, I mean, I didn't see it that long. In fact, I did watch it.
I don't think I'd have noticed this unless it was pointed out to me. I don't think but it's the eyes.
It's in the eyes, is it? Okay.
Yeah. And it's one of the film's kind of wrapped up quickly. They throw in a big robot at the end, which is a very almost Superman 3-esque.
Completely. It looks like something from the last act of Superman 3.
Yeah.
So, if you've seen Superman 3, you'd know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just big, clunky robot type thing.
Yeah.
Kind of scary looking.
Yeah.
But also makes you think you could take that out.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's about to fall apart.
Yeah.
And
that's a bit. I mean, it looks all right, but it's just very clunky.
It's got eyes.
Yeah. It's very, very 80s, very of its time. Nowadays, that robot would probably just been a big CGI chap, a human-looking robot.
Yeah.
But that it's all right. It's almost like there's so many ideas in this film. They don't quite go together, and how do you end it?
Yeah.
And that's what I do. But spoiler alert: they save the world with rain and stuff.
They do, yeah.
And another bit that looks a bit clunky to me is at the very end when you see them with the sky in the background. It's obviously fake background, whereas the rest of the film. They haven't used fake backgrounds much.
No, I agree. I think there's a couple of superimposed bits which I
painted
think
on
probably which I think might have been done probably in post when they thought we haven't quite got that shot to link up to the next thing, we better have you acting, and then we'll put that behind.
I mean, like you said, I think it looks great. Not just I think it looks really good.
It does look good. I mean, that is one of because I haven't really been necessarily honest about how I feel about the film.
Yeah.
But I'd say one of the things I do really like about it is that it does look good. Yeah. I do like the way it looks. But like I said, it looks like Mad Max. And I like the way Mad Max looks. So
I mean, if you look at it, would have been 8 years later, the most expensive film ever made was made for the time, and that was Waterworld.
Yeah.
And this doesn't look any worse than that, in my opinion.
Not much, no. Not really.
And they don't overdo it in Waterworld. The few bits what do look poor are the CGI. Mm-hmm. But that's something they didn't at the time, but now it does. And there's none of that in here. There's a little bit of CGI with the Bodai.
I think you're probably right. It is because I haven't looked up exactly like what the specs were on the special effects. Yeah. I was thinking it might be animation. I'm not too sure, like drawn animation.
Yeah, Roger Rabbit style. It probably is thinking about it, but it's still
I'm not sure.
I think it works.
It's fine. Yeah. I mean, when they're holding it with their sticks, you know, where they call that looks a bit ropey.
But it's not on screen for long, is it? So it's you get away with it, and you go, it's 36 years old.
Yeah, like I say, it looks fine for its time. It looks absolutely fine.
I mean, for me, 86, same year as Howard the Duck. Yeah. Another film which growing up with, I didn't know that was a flop. I didn't know how badly it done. And you go back to that film now, I still think that film looks great.
It's brilliant.
You know,
that's a great film.
I'm so surprised how us two agree so much on that film.
Why? It is a masterpiece. I just like everyone to know that.
Yeah.
Everyone go out and watch it.
Yeah, and there's I still love little things about it. Like on the Blu-ray release, there's a documentary, which is perfect.
Excellent. You get on with this one.
Yes. I had years and years ago. I had a Region 1 DVD of this. I don't know what happened to it. And I'm sure it had extras on it that I'm making of and a commentary and stuff.
Probably did.
And I think it was 6-7 years ago. The Blu-ray came out over here. 101 films. The Cult Movie Collection. It's 12 certificate. That might even be the first. I don't know if it got a DVD release in this country originally. I think it only came out to rent. So the Blu-ray's out. You can still get it. It does say on the back. Never been released before on Blu-ray in the UK, so it probably did have a DVD release. It's gone down to a 12 certificate for moderate violence, threat, horror, occasional gory moment.
Yeah, there is one I can think of which I go, okay, that bit, you know.
So if you do want to get hold of it, you can pick it up. It's on Amazon for $6.50 on Blu-ray, which is it's less than I paid for it on the day of release. We'll go over the reasons why. There's no swearing in the film.
There is no swearing in it.
The gory moment would be the hand melting, I'm guessing.
That's
in the
the one I'm
torture
thinking
scene
about. Yeah.
But even that is sort of... You see this hand melt, and the effects are okay. Reminiscent of something from Dune, in my mind.
Dune, do you know what I thought of? I thought of Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead.
It's got
it's sort of a stop motion, plasticine, Play-Doh type thing, claymation type effect.
But I think that looks cool. And it's sort of brought back though because it hasn't actually happened. It's a trick. He thinks it's happened to his
they have a machine that can basically torture you in your mind, so you think it's actually happening to you, but it's not. It's just in your head.
So that's one of the reasons why I imagine that might have been cut down a bit when it was the PG.
I'm sure it was.
I can't think of much else. In the Scorpions, there's the evil younger one who rivals Jason Patrick. He's basically Johnny from Cobra Kai. Him towards the Jamie Gertz character, a bit. I'm going to say he's a bit rapey.
It's a bit rapey, yeah. I mean, it would have been, but she's a strong character who
she hits him in the balls with a stick. So that's awesome. But he throws himself on her 2 or 3 times. Nothing too far happens, and it is the sort of thing what would have happened with kids. I mean, the actors in this are all early 20s, but they're meant to be 15, 16, I'm guessing. And apart from, is it Lucas Hayes? Is that his name? The right youngster.
I don't know. Lucas Haas or Hayes. He's what 10?
10, about 10 so his character's probably meant to be a little bit younger. Because he was in Witness before this. And I sort of know him from a few years later, Mars Attacks.
He's still acting today. He's one of those actors, child actors that's gone all the way through his life, still acting today. 97 screen credits. Amazing. Which is cool. Can I just say though, just quickly, I really dislike him as an actor, and I think he's my least favourite part of this film. As a character, I find him gratingly annoying.
Just is that child actor annoying? I think I did when I watched it as a youngster. You do when you're younger. Sometimes you think that little kid's annoying, but he's actually the same age as you, and that was.
It's his voice. He has just a voice that I'm just like, I can't. That's so annoying.
I certainly found him annoying in Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
And he'd have been 18 in that. But also playing a bit younger. What do you think of the rest of the cast, though? I mean,
overall, good. Yeah. Solid enough for this kind of film. You know. So what we got with Gertz is fine.
This is straight after Crossroads, which. Another one was I actually don't think Crossroads is that good. I've only seen it once. Everyone raves about it.
I don't think I've seen it.
No, it's one of the people I've either watched loads as a kid or not at all.
Right.
It's Ralph, Karate Kid, Danny Man. Steve Vai is in it briefly as the
I've heard of the film, but I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it.
And I just found it really slow. I watched it probably about 10 years ago. I'll have to rewatch it. But I think that was quite a big hit. She'd been in the TV series Square Pegs,
right? Yeah,
which we mentioned on the last
that's
one.
Right, yeah, with
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah.
And then after this, and Jason Patric, who's basically the leader of the Solarbabies.
Yeah, and he's a what are we saying, James Deany type character, looking a bit Jim Morrison again. I mean, that's just his look, I think, probably at that time of his life.
It was his second film. He was in a film called Tough Love before, which may have been a TV movie.
Yeah.
And
then obviously goes on to Lost Boys next year, which...
I remember reading that I think either him or Gertz got the other one.
That's right. One of them was said to, I don't know, whoever, Schumacher or whoever, you should get this person. I work with them, they're really good.
Yeah.
So,
I've got a confession to make. Being a massive fan of the Lost Boys, I often tell people that I watched this film because I loved the Lost Boys and went back and found it.
All right.
Totally the other way around. I watched this first.
Yeah, well, you said you saw this when you were probably about 6.
Yeah, I've given it away in the... I could have watched...
Yeah, it's true. You might have seen Lost Boys.
I reckon Lost Boys I would have been...
I was quite young.
I would have been 12, maybe. When
I think I was about that, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah,
because I remember it was on television. They had a horror series on BBC Two or something. That's when I first saw it.
Yeah.
I was about
and I think I made the connection. I was like, it's them two. And when I first saw the Lost Boys being young, I thought it was the same little kid. The Eddie Munster. I thought it was Lucas from this, but obviously not.
No.
It was just... I got it in my head that it was made by completely the same people, but really the only connections are
the two actors.
The two actors
in the same movie.
So I think they're fine. I don't know the name. I haven't looked it up, but the other roles of the team are a bit stereotypy. You've got the nerdy one who can fix things with the glasses.
Yeah,
you've got almost the jock one.
You do have the jock one,
and
big guy. Yeah.
We're going to say it. There's the stereotypical black guy who, for no reason, does a bit of breakdancing
and some awful beatboxing. Which I just wanted to kill myself. I really did.
And at one point, he says when they say something different, he says, "You've got your language and we've got ours." Which is
talking to Bodhi. He doesn't want to call him Bodhi. He wants to call him Bodhi, which the little boy doesn't like for some reason. He's like, "Yes, there's Bodhi." It's like he says, "You talk to him your way, I'll talk to him my way." Sort of thing. Which is I'd say, yeah.
So
we get it.
Yeah. But it's
that's not good. I really didn't like that at all.
It's very of its time, though.
Yeah,
you got that a lot.
It's these parts of these 80s films that you just think, why? You don't have to have it. No. It doesn't need to be there.
No. But do they think that will draw in a black audience? Because totally the opposite, I think.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have no idea what their thinking was.
Yeah. But I do. It's because everyone was doing it. That was. The main criticism of this film is it's just little bits of other films shoved together.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's another one of when I first watched it. I probably wouldn't have seen Mad Max when I saw this. Let's be honest. I might have seen Spaceballs. I know it's different, but it's. I've got to look it up. But I think some of it was shot at the same time in the same.
It probably was.
It makes sense. And this, to me, it looks higher budget than Spaceballs, but Spaceballs has got that spoof ability.
Absolutely.
So parts of it's
supposed to look cheap.
Yeah. So I shouldn't really be comparing them. It's hard not to. Because it's the Brooks film.
Yeah.
It came a year after, or the same year as he'd done The Fly, he produced that, which was massive for him. Mm-hmm. And of course he'd done The Elephant Man.
Yeah, in 1980.
Yeah,
which was,
you can see mainly it's his own films he'd done, but there's these few, and this would have been the first flop.
No, I would have thought so.
And then closely followed by, there was another one with, was his wife Annette Bennett? Who was Mel Brooks' wife? Really famous actress. I haven't written it down, but it's someone really, really famous, which has thrown me. I'll put it in.
Me too. I completely can't think.
You wouldn't think that they were married.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to look it up because we were filming this as well. But he'd done a drama with her around the same time, which bombed.
All right.
So this was sort of the beginning of the end for Brooks' film.
Yeah, it didn't last long,
no.
and I think after this, he just made his own
He done the Fly 2, which didn't do very well.
Oh, right,
which I think is great, by the way.
But it ended with Dracula Dead and Loving It, I think was the last film.
Last film he done, yeah.
And that was the last film, of Brooks films,
full
stop.
Yeah, he's getting on as well.
Sure.
But Dracula Dead and Loving It we'll go off one a bit, it should have been great. Yeah. It's Mel Brooks and Leslie Nielsen. A great cast in general, but I've seen that one once. Odd chuckle, but no.
No, it's not good.
No. I need to rewatch it. I actually think Men in Tights is quite overrated as well.
It is.
It's got moments.
Yeah.
Then there's better ones just before that, like Life Stinks.
Yeah, Life Stinks was okay, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Yeah. So I digress. I did do a podcast on Mel Brooks once on the Film School Dropouts podcast.
Okay.
And I don't remember much of that. Just talking about, we just done it, we just researched it, all this Mel Brooks facts, and it's in and out. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tricky to remember things you want to talk about, yeah.
But from the comedy side, I mean, this film isn't a comedy. There's some light-hearted moments. There's some nice little montages of them having fun and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's not much humour in it, really. But Alexei Sayle, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is... he might as well not be.
Yeah.
He's kind of a bounty hunter.
They are bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Awful. I just wrote down idiots.
Yeah.
As in they are like it's him and another guy, and they are just sort of a double act of it.
Yeah.
Buffoons.
But there's not. They could be a nice, fun comedy double act.
Yeah, and they could, but there's nothing like that. There's not even remotely like a trying to. You know, it's Alexei Sayle. You expect him to, turn to the camera and do a monologue or something,
which I'd have been fine with.
Yeah, me too. And there's nothing even remotely like that. I don't even think he tries to be funny in it. Really, just tries to be stupid.
I think it's a case of they've probably hired him because they think he'll be funny in it. The reason Richard Pryor, Superman 3 again. They sort of put him, I think he is funny in that.
Yeah.
But they wanted more from him.
Right. Yeah.
He was too much of a fan of Superman. He stuck to the
script. That's right. He wanted. Yeah. He loved Superman.
These two characters could have been like you've seen the Super Mario Brothers film.
Sure.
You got Fisher Stevens and another guy. They're like bumbling, and it kind of works.
I know what you mean. That would be the sort of thing that they probably. I mean, obviously, that's later on. Super Mario. But yes, that sort of idea of the two sort of foolish buffoon, which could have been funny. Yeah. They're not funny. These two.
I've got a feeling that they might have wanted them to have more screen time to be funny, and then they took it out because they weren't. Because they're not in it a lot, and it almost seems like they should be.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's other scenes like that which look like they've basically hard cuts of something has gone, something's been removed.
Yeah. I'd love to see a 3-hour version of it. Really would. A couple of more things to mention. Mention them easily escaping. One bit I like. It's the stereotypical black guy's name's Rabbit, isn't it?
It is Rabbit. That's his character. I'm trying to think what his name. Claude Brooks, no relation to Mel.
Because all the characters, all the main characters, are named after. It says Enlightenment legends from legend and myth from various cultures.
Right.
Yes. That's all their names. And of course, Jason Patrick is just Jason. Would that be Jason the Argonauts?
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly. Or just they got his name wrong when filming it and just called his real name, like that scene in Star Wars where Luke calls Leia Carrie. Yeah. Which is edited out in the newer versions.
Yeah, obviously.
That's the best bit. And when the stormtrooper hits his head.
Yes,
best bit.
That's good as well. Yeah.
Yes, they're both edited out. It annoys me. They are very much. When they first escape, Rabbit picks up a rock and then hits it against the with his stick. And hits could have just gone up to the stick and smashed it. He sort of really complicates things.
Yeah.
I don't understand things like that. And don't say it bugs me. But it bugs me a bit. But the scene I kind of like, but it's ridiculous. There's a missing bridge, and they're being chased by
the slingshot scene.
Which they skate around, slingshot each other over. Yeah. But then the last one can just jump in.
Yeah, he just runs, from a long distance and then jumps.
Yeah, and he does.
Which they all probably could have done.
Yeah,
maybe.
And also the E-police, or at that point they do call them E-pigs at one point.
Yeah.
They're quite close behind them. They've nearly got them, and then they give them time to do the jump, which is quite good.
Talking about time, there's a bit where this is at the end, and it also mentioned about the skating. You were talking about not so great skating. Daniel, the little boy, he has to get through a gate that is closing. And you see him, and he's clearly not. He's moving very nonchalantly, like he's skating, like, okay, just stay on your feet, kind of thing. And it's like, dude, you're supposed to get through the gate, quick move. Yeah, and then the next shot is of him just sliding through the gate. Yeah, it's like, that doesn't look good.
That reminds me of the bit in Spaceballs when they capture the stuntmen. So something happens, and but also if he was as annoying as you imagine when making this film, he's on the roller skates. The cast members who were teenagers could just push him over.
Yeah,
that could have been a lot.
I'm sure there was probably a lot of that.
Yeah, it's one of those films as well that I reckon on set they either had the time of their lives or hated.
Well, I mean, the location is probably a little bit difficult. So if they didn't enjoy it, I'm sure it was really hard shoot.
Yeah. It's not one that's mentioned a lot, and if you look on IMDb for the facts on the films,
it probably wasn't a good time.
Yeah, but there's nothing so bad that later on in their careers you think they might have said something about it. But it might have been because of the people behind it. It might have been, yes, it was tough, but they were nice people to work with.
Would like to talk briefly about the production itself, where it is set. One of the reasons why it's set where it is because there are no union laws.
Okay.
So Mel Brooks wanted to film there because it would just be cheap and no one would give them any hassle on however they wanted to do it. So,
as I say, nice bloke.
Yeah. So, maybe not the nicest of times.
Yeah, because I suppose
not the best looking after.
Because a lot of the extras in it, the scenes in the author, they're obviously youngsters. So the hours they had them working.
Yeah, it might not have been too good.
Yeah. Yes. Never mind. Someone should tell John Landis to film his. But no, that's not go there.
I'm sure it's not the same now.
No,
it's very different.
Another thing I was going to mention, another sort of action sequence that I'd forgotten about, where they escape by getting in tyres and rolling down.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, you look at that and you go, okay, that's nice.
Yeah, that's something kids like. And there's a scene in one of the grown-ups films where David Spade does the same thing. I was like, Spade could have done that. So it's got these moments.
Which you go, okay, look, it's a fun kids movie moments where you go, that's fine. There's nothing, that's the kind of thing that you go, oh yeah, really 80s, really nice, blah, blah, blah. But overall, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic storytelling, eco-storytelling,
a lot of it.
There's not really a film here. Really.
You can tell a lot of it doesn't make sense.
No,
and they ban everything. Everything's banned. Fiction's banned, they mention.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is loads of, bits sort of pointing at 1984 kind of things. Yeah. So banning of, books.
Yeah.
Things like that. So they don't go into it very far. It's just little nods to stuff.
Yeah, it is like they've thrown all these ideas. I did read as well that it's heavily ripped off, I think it was a Hammer film called These Are the Damned, aka The Damned with Oliver Reed. I have to look that up.
I have seen that, many years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't recall it being anything like this.
Oh, okay. That just came up. There's loads of extras in it as well, which surprised me.
The kids. I mean, in the orphanage, there's loads of them. Yeah. There must have been a couple of hundred, I would have thought. Although, I mean, clever filming might have,
Yeah.
But it looks like there's loads of kids.
Yeah.
So.
Another bit I liked, they're going to get over a fence, and one of them gets them to pole vault over.
Oh, yeah, there's a pole vault. There's a pole vault scene. Yeah, it's another one of these things that I think, wow, this is like another sort of it's a very sporty kind of movie. Yeah. The kind of.
But where does the pole vault come from?
Yeah, exactly. It's just you just got it.
Yeah, and another little bit I really liked when even though I moaned about the scene with the hippie. Call it the hippie Connolly. The hippies. Yeah. The Daniel, the young lad, Lucas, is just holding a goat and stroking it.
That's right.
He's just got a little baby goat.
Yeah, I don't know if he has some sort of angelic, almost Christ-like sort of imagery.
There is a lot of. You say that there's a lot of Messiah characters in this. You could say. Even someone mentioned that they said that everybody in it. That the hero side could be seen as a bit of a messiah, apart from Jason Patrick, who's meant to be the lead, which is quite cool.
Yeah,
but he's very Michael from Lost Boys at moments of this.
Oh, completely. He's probably just playing himself. I think. Yeah.
I did hear that he was on the set of Lost Boys. He was the one who took it the most seriously.
Right.
There was Alex Winter said it at a talk he was at, and said that all the other actors who were just there being young, were winding him up, and they thought he hated him, and at the time he probably did, but now I feel sorry for him because he's had such a hit and miss career. Right. No matter what people say about this film, that it's got like some terrible reviews, but it's 10 times better than Speed 2. Come on.
Do you know what? I've never seen it. I never saw Speed 2. Didn't bother.
I struggled. After a while, I did watch it.
After being a big fan of the first one.
The first one's great.
Just thought, right, no Keanu Reeves and no Dennis Hopper. I'm not in.
And it was a PG.
Yeah.
So I don't get this. It happens so many times. Even with the Die Hard films, they have a big budget, violent 18 certificate film, and then they make a sequel, a lower certificate, get more of an audience.
Sure.
That is just encouraging kids to watch the original 18.
Absolutely.
And then that's bad. RoboCop was the best one. 2 18s, 15, then a TV series which is 12, then a cartoon.
Yeah.
Mad.
And it's very popular. I mean, RoboCop was popular with the kids when there was only the one movie.
But they know this, don't they? So that's the thing. 2 letterboxed reviews, really quick ones, which just caught my eye. One gave it a half star, a simple review. This is from Laura Robinson, who just put half a star. None of them are babies. That's the whole review. And
false advertising.
Yeah, and one from Jurassic Griffin, 4 stars and a heart. So the second highest rating. Oh, do 4.5. But one of the highest ratings. It won me over at headlights on the roller skates. That I was there for the whole thing.
I did like that. I did like the headlights on the roller skates. I did quite like that as a touch. It's like I say, aesthetically, it looks good.
Yeah,
you know.
It got an average review of about 2.5. I didn't write it down. It said, what was it? Solarbabies skated so the Lost Boys could fly.
Okay,
which is fair dues, isn't it?
I think people who are really, I mean, I read some of the reviews when it came out, and I think even though I don't like the film either, I think they were really harsh over it overall. Just really just calling it trash and things. It's not trash. It's just not very good.
Yeah,
it's, you know,
I think it's
so much worse than this.
Yeah, I think it's because it was so obviously, I say borrowing, but ripping off other things.
Yeah.
And maybe just the fact that it's a kids' film, almost casting in on an adult audience type film. But that's happened loads since.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons Waterworld got so shat on, basically, was because it was so much like Mad Max, but just on water.
Yeah. Fair enough,
but,
I suppose.
You know,
it's got Dennis Hopper in it.
Waterworld's great, but that got a lot of stick because of the money they spent on it.
Yeah,
and the island sunk.
Expensive, was it?
It was at the time, yeah. I like Waterworld, and I've still got the 3-hour version to watch, and I will bloody enjoy it.
You
I
will.
Yes. Quick. You got your finger? You can say something else?
Well, if we forget, just to talk about the writer.
Writers.
There are 2 on this one. So Wallen Green, who is a proper writer. Right, as in written many films before, like Wild Bunch, Sorcerer. These are 2, in my opinion, 2 great movies.
Yeah.
Also did War Games as well before, and RoboCop 2.
Okay.
Right? And loads of others. So he was brought on, I'm sure, to sort of tighten it up and make it worth making a movie out. So the guy who came up with the idea, the inspiration, everything, is a guy who I'd never heard of called Douglas Anthony Metrov, and he pitched it to Brooks. And Brooks thought it was great. Just thought the idea was fantastic, and just was like, okay, brilliant. We'll do this movie. You know, basically, we'll just bring other people in to make it work, sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of crazy to me.
Do you know what he's done since? Or?
I think very little. He has done some other stuff, but very
maybe
very,
because
very
of
little.
how badly this bombed. You know. That might be why. It's like we mentioned how the director of that went on to do nothing.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the director of this was Mel Brooks, just
choreographer.
It's
just Alan Johnson, who just some of the greatest comedy choreography, you know, brilliant stuff you ever see, like Springtime for Hitler and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think this was the first film, maybe the only one he directed.
He directed To Be or Not to Be, another Mel Brooks film as well. But yeah, the only two that he done, and I think he does a fine job. Really,
Again, it's kind of directed by numbers, and there's so many people involved in the film who I think probably just helping out with whatever need be. But he'd been on set for many years, worked for many decades before, or a couple of decades at least before this film, on set and things. So he would have fairly good experience of how to run, on set anyway, filming. I don't know who edited the film.
No, I don't. But I think a lot of the trouble would have been pre-production, because to go that over budget.
Yeah.
But apparently Mel Brooks went to sort of funders for help during the film.
Yeah.
They knocked together a trailer what looked really like Star Wars.
That's right.
And then people gave them money.
That's right. Yeah.
And
a lot of, I think 15 mil he got in the end from which he had to find a way to pay back.
That's what I was got confused with, the budget being 15
million, and then he got from other people, from the investors, which he'd obviously have to probably with interest and end up paying back to them all. Showed you really how much he was committed to the film, which is quite impressive. I think
he wanted to break away from just comedy behind the scenes. I mean, at least he didn't try to sort of write it. And basically make something of Brooks' films. Imagine if this had have gone on to be the next sort of Star Wars, Brooks' films might be remembered for something else other than just comedy. Because you had The Fly just before this. It reminds me a bit, I suppose, of when Master Universe tried to be the next Star Wars. This probably tried to be as well. There was a lot of that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think most films that were coming out that were of this kind of sci-fi, so action-adventure type, are trying to be the next Star Wars, even if they're not necessarily complete clones of Star Wars.
And there's lots of imagery, and there's lots of machines and vehicles that could be action figures, loads of that sort of thing. But we've spoken for well over 45 minutes about this awesome film. Just going to quickly mention the ratings. Okay. It's got 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb.
Brilliant.
2.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Most interestingly, Rotten Tomatoes, audience score of 45%. Critics, it's got 0%. Which is wrong.
Yeah, it is wrong.
Very wrong.
Absolutely. This is not a zero. I mean, I wouldn't give 0 to any movie. I don't like the idea of it. But this is not an awful film by any stretch. And I think anyone that's watching this who's thinking that way just has no sense of fun.
Really. That's exactly. So, would you give it a rating out of 5? Firstly, a rating out of 5 as a film now as you watch it. Then, if you can try to imagine if you was 7 years old.
I thought of it. So now it's a 2. And as a kid, I probably would have given it a 3, maybe a 4.
Okay. Fair dues. Myself, as a kid, 5. As a 40-year-old man who runs a business, it's 4 with a double thumbs up in person with my thumbs up.
Brilliant. Thank you. Like I say, I mean, the reason why I think a 2 is fine, in my opinion, just as watching it as an adult and someone who sees a lot of movies. It's a 2.
Fair dues, isn't it? Two's still not terrible.
It's not terrible. I've seen it twice now, and I probably enjoyed it slightly more the second time round.
Because you know what you get.
Yeah, exactly.
Another sort of criticism of it is people went in expecting to be kind of more of a sports-based movie.
Yeah, I mean, the first 5 minutes, that's what you think it's going to be. It's going to be roller skating and it's going to be like you say, rollerball sort of thing. It's going to be about that.
I mean, the original poster had like them lined up with space in the background. So if I'd have seen that, I'd have gone in wanting a sci-fi film, and I might have been disappointed with the beginning, thinking, "Oh no, this is a sports film." So I actually
trying to please a lot of people is clearly what this film is trying to do.
Was it the James Caan Rollerball?
Brilliant film.
But this, when I watched it as a youngster, I found Rollerball just a bit. I didn't really like it. But watching it as an adult, I love it. So it might have been not long after I'd seen this. Maybe I was comparing it to.
I mean, Rollerball is not a kid's film. No. So as a child, I think if I was a kid watching Rollerball, I wouldn't have liked it either.
No,
I didn't see it as a kid.
So. No, I did, probably because of this. Right, so thank you very much. We're going to wrap up. We've spoken for a great length about this awesome film. Thank you for your time.
You are welcome.
I'm going to quickly mention that we've been working on the King Street Cinema podcast.
That's right, yes.
Which should be out, I'm aiming to get it out the 1st of July.
Brilliant.
Discussing First Blood, and I'll be chatting to you about the movie Tron as well, very briefly on that.
Yeah, because we'll be showing Tron at the cinema, in King Street Cinema in August.
Yeah, so, awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks to James. He'll be back soon, I'm sure. I do like that film. I can't help it. And as I kept saying, track it down if you can. It's available on Blu-ray, which I rewatched it on, and probably show up on one of the streaming channels soon enough. It's one of those films that, like myself, a lot of people fondly remember it. As I said at the open of the show, I'm going to talk about the sort of bizarre time in kids' TV where they were turning many films in the UK, this country, there were 18 certificates, 15 certificates, into kids' cartoons, sort of Saturday morning times, and nowadays seems insane. I'm going to refer to it as R-rated movies, which these films were in America, which I think 17 plus. A few films turned into quite big cartoons. I mean, in this country, the movie Beetlejuice, for example, was a 15 certificate, and there was a very kiddie cartoon of that, which I remember thinking was quite bizarre as a kid. And same with the cartoon of Karate Kid. The first Karate Kid was a 15 in this country, but both of those were PG-13s in America, so I can see why more they were turned in, sort of kidified, so to speak. So it's not too different from, say, the Ace Ventura cartoon we had in the early 90s. Another one that sort of comes up, but I don't think really counts, is there was a cartoon version of the movie Clerks, which is quite a sweary, rude 18 certificate. I think there might have even been a NR in America, I'm not sure. Indie film, Kevin Smith's first film, we all know it. That was turned into a cartoon. But first it didn't run very long, and I do think that was more aimed at the sort of Family Guy audience, even South Park. It wasn't very rude, especially in comparison to the movie, but I'm not going to count that because it wasn't really made for kids. Also, there was cartoon versions of Conan. Now, of course, there was Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer, both R-rated movies. Cartoon versions of that, called Conan the Adventurer, came out just after the movies, but that was based on a comic, so you could say that the source material was probably originally aimed at younger people. Same with the animated version of Swamp Thing, because the first Swamp Thing movie was R-rated. I think the second one was a PG-13. That's a 12 now. And there was a cartoon version of Police Academy. There was toys as well. I'll mention some toys from other things. The first Police Academy was, of course, R-rated, quite rude, 15 in the UK. But I don't think that counts, because the cartoon came out in 88, and there were several PG certificate sequels to that movie, which they basically did become family and kids films, so they also don't count. More recently, there's also been a Fast and Furious cartoon called Fast Furious Spy Racers. Same with that. I think the first one was R, and the later ones have become 12. Madly, there was both a Jackie Chan and Chuck Norris cartoon in the 80s in America. Both of these actors, especially at that time, would be making quite adult movies. Chuck Norris was doing the Missing in Action, that sort of thing, Invasion USA, which 18s now, R-rated America, no way they should really be aimed at kids. Quite bizarre. So I'm also going to mention there was a planned cartoon version of the Alien franchise called Operation Aliens. I think I've seen pictures of it. It was definitely never released. I don't know if they actually made it, but that, for whatever reason, probably because it shouldn't have been for kids, was never aired. But they did release a toy line of those for kids. Speaking of toys, in 1992, I think it was, Kenner released an action figure series for the Terminator 2 movie, which was R-rated movie in America. That was 15 over here. It might have been 18 temporarily, I don't know, but it's quite strange. Mention all these. Now I'm going to do a top 5 animated series of all of these I can remember seeing as a kid. All of these were films made for adults, all R-rated in America. At number 5, Highlander. There was a kids TV cartoon in 94 based around the Highlander franchise. All of these films are R-rated in America. I think mostly 15. In the UK, I think one or two of them may be 18s, but definitely not for kids. When you think the whole theme of it is you have to remove, decapitate basically someone, chop their heads off to kill them. That bit isn't even in the cartoon, I remember. So I can't remember how they got around that. There was in 2007 adult sort of animated version of it, which was a 15 certificate and more what it should be. That's definitely number 5. That's bizarre how that even happened. In 1997, I think it was Canadian, there was an animated series called Roughnecks, the Starship Troopers Chronicles. That movie was R-rated, 18 when it came out on video or DVD, whichever it came out on in this country. I think that might have been a DVD one, actually. Might have been just before. It was just after it was just video. 15 in cinemas, so I remember that because I wasn't 18, but I did go and see it. But still, there should not have been a kids' cartoon of this, in my opinion. And there was action figures of that as well, which is insane. Number 3, this is possibly the weirdest one. The Troma movies, Toxic Avenger. They made 4 of those movies. There was an animated version of that in 1991. They did change the name to the Toxic Crusaders, gave it some more characters, but it was made by them, and it was definitely the same character of Toxie. And there was a whole toy range from Playmates. That is absolutely bonkers. Number 2, a cartoon I remember quite well. I had toys of this, a toy knife I had, and toy walkie-talkies with the main character's face on. This is, of course, Rambo. Yeah, there's a cartoon version of the Rambo movies, which is basically a rip-off of sort of G.I. Joe and stuff. It was called Rambo and the Forces of Freedom. Absolutely mad. They made 65 episodes of that, and it was for kids. Insane. Number one in my list of these mad cartoons. In the late 80s, or was it very early 80s, they'd done a cartoon series based around the very adult, the very violent, the very sweary movie RoboCop. And there was a toy range as well called RoboCop and the Ultra Police. They did later do a live-action, family-friendly TV series of RoboCop, but the cartoon was before that. So basically, this cartoon, like all of those cartoons, was encouraging us, kids in the 80s, to watch violent adult films, which I think is a disgrace. But I'm also very grateful, because if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast. You might not be listening to it, and I haven't gone out and killed anyone. So it's mad. But thank you, these TV companies, for doing that. It's amazing. Yeah. I would say I have watched some of these episodes or clips of them in a little bit of research for this, and none of them are very good. Just stick to the films, stick to the real violence. Yeah. Getting towards the end of the podcast now. A bit of a rant by me there, I do apologise. But just going to finish the show like we sort of often do, mentioning some newer movies. I'm trying to now every episode recommend a mockbuster, or mainly films made by the company Asylum, or a cheap rip-off movie, the sort of thing that you can find on the sci-fi channel, the horror channel, basically TV movies, sort of thing what would have been straight to video back in the day. They're usually CGI heavy, they usually rip off other films, badly acted, that sort of trash. But we all enjoy these, don't we? Well, I do. Last time I mentioned the film Planet Dune, which I think was great. This movie stars one of the same people, Emily Killian, who... great B-movie actress. I've only seen her in these 2 films, but good on her. She's, making a living. This one is Apocalypse of Ice, made in 2020. 2.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Made during the pandemic. Set during the pandemic. And during that, the world is going to be turned to ice. Only a group of really bad actors. And Tom Sizemore, who is in this film... not a lot, but he is in it. They do their best in a cheap, low-budget way to save the world. Directed by someone called Maximilian Elferding. My handwriting's terrible. Anyway, I'm guessing is the bloke who directed it has changed their name. That's all I can say. He's acted and directed loads of Asylum movies. I should. This is a DIY, just ranty podcast. I do apologise for my notes being so terrible, but his first name is definitely Maximilian. I don't know. I just think that he doesn't want people to know it's him. So I don't like the term "so bad it's good." I mean, it's not that. It's a TV movie with very little budget, up-and-coming actors, and people who Tom Sizemore, just working actor now. I suppose he's been in some great films like True Romance, and I think he's in The Relic. I love that. It's a job for him. It passed 90 minutes fine. Talking about it now, I watched it a week or so ago. I don't remember much about it, but I don't remember hating it, and I do remember it was a bit of fun. So this episode's Asylum mockbuster recommendation, it cost me £2 and I don't regret a penny of it. If it had cost me £2.50 possibly, but £2 I don't regret it. Apocalypse of Ice, check it out. Nice sort of afternoon feet up movie that I really recommend. I recommend. A big film I recommend, which I saw a few days ago at the cinemas as I record this. Hopefully it'll be on for a few weeks. The Black Phone, the latest, I'm probably excited, I don't want to say much about it, latest Blumhouse movie. It's got 7.4 on IMDb, which for a horror film is pretty damn good. 86% on the Rotten Tomatoes. Directed by Scott Derrickson, who first film I saw by him, not so great. 2000's Hellraiser Inferno, watchable though. Then he went on to do the excellent Exorcism of Emily Rose. Probably his most well-known movie-ish, most well-known horror movie anyway, Sinister. He's since done Deliver Us From Evil. All films I've really enjoyed. Big budget-wise. After the Exorcism of Emily Rose, he made The Day the Earth Stood Still, the Keanu Reeves one. Don't remember too much about that, but he did do the first Doctor Strange, which is very enjoyable. And it looks like he's been attached to Labyrinth 2. Well, if that is made, we will talk about that at some point. I really want to do a podcast on the movie Labyrinth, but it's a matter of I can't find someone who wants to talk about it who's never seen it. But one day I'll do that. The star of this movie, or the adult star, it's sort of set around kids in the late 70s. The adult star, the villain, so to speak, is played excellently by Ethan Hawke, who's gone on to become sort of a modern horror hero, a horror icon, horror actor. Anyway, he was in The Purge, the first Purge, and The Purge Sinister, made by the same people as this awesome movie. And I just don't want to say much. It's one of those films I hope that they do more of them. If you've seen the trailer, it just looks like it's a creepy child abduction film, but there's so much more to that. It so feels 70s. Bits of it, especially before it gets too dark, really remind me of stuff like Dazed and Confused. The kids are really good in it. What there is of the adults, they're all great acting. The effects are fantastic. The atmosphere is fantastic. This is definitely a modern film that I would give a 5 out of 5. There you go. I can't really recommend this if you're a horror fan anymore. I absolutely loved it, and I'm going to try to get to see it at the cinema again. Right, we've ended on a positive note. I don't just like everything. The films I don't like, I don't talk about. I like positivity when it comes to films. We'll be returning with another episode very soon. I'm hoping to get that superhero comic book season underway very, very soon. I think I've said before the movies we're going to do for that are Return of Swamp Thing, Dick Tracy, Tank Girl, Supergirl. I now want to do Superman 3 as well, and possibly some more. We'll see. It's kind of started. If you go back to early episodes, we did do Howard the Duck, so it's going to be that sort of thing. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for James for being my guest again. It's always great. I like the fact that he doesn't just watch the film, he thinks about it, he does a little bit of research. Less work for me to do, always good. Thanks to Natalie for taking some of the photos for the Facebook and Instagram. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, ACM's Vault of Cult. Follow us on Spotify. Give us that fast 5-star rating. It really helps. I'm told, please, it helps get the word out there. Enjoy it. If you want to comment, please do. If you want to come and join me and talk about a film, drop me a message. We might be able to do that as well. Thank you. And go and watch Solarbabies, Solarwarriors. Start roller skating. Go mad. That's what life's all about, innit? Have fun.